Back to school, Scotty Braun, JJ Cooper, and Jacob Rudner. Jacob, you start here as it's a fascinating topic. It's juicy and it's called tampering. We know about it from other sports. It is very active, it appears, in the college world these days. So give us a glimpse of what you wrote about.
Well, I think before we say anything, it's really important to define what we're talking about because the way it was explained to me by the coaches who I had conversations with, there's two very clear types of tampering. On one hand, we have coaches who are reaching out to players' family members, coaches, trainers, summer ball coaches, whatever you want to call it, and they're initiating the process of that player entering the transfer portal. They're saying something to the effect of, "We're going to pay you more. Our situation is better than the one you're currently in, and you should get into the portal." That is across the board regarded as bad, poor practice, a violation of college athletic ethics, and a problem. On the other hand, and this was a big topic with Power Five coaches in particular, Tony Vitello talked about it on the record for us. There is a degree to tampering that is becoming unavoidable. And it is when there are agents or family members or other people in a player's camp who are reaching out to schools and effectively saying, my son, my player, my prospect is going to be entering the transfer portal and is looking for a spot to play. And for these coaches who are receiving those phone calls, you kind of have to make a choice. Are you going to get on the phone and say, listen, I appreciate the call, but my ethics prevent me from being able to have a conversation with you? Or are you going to follow through and have the conversation and start to build your roster? There was not a single coach who I spoke with at the Power Five level who said that they would have hung up the phone or turned that agent away. They have to be able to have those types of conversations, or you risk being left in the dust. So we have two types of tampering. One, I think, is a little bit more unavoidable than the other. One is viewed as kind of the greater evil, and the other is a situation that is a byproduct of a very broken system, and one that a lot of Power Five coaches and even some of the mid major coaches who are the victims of this say there's nothing we can do. There's the quote from Tony Vitello. If you're calling a kid who's not in the portal, that's breaking the rules. That's wrong. But when kids and families are already asking questions, it's hard or even impossible to pretend that conversation isn't happening. So that is the predicament. I thought Coach Vitello did a great job of explaining it right there. And that's what these coaches are dealing with right now. And until the NCAA decides to step in with some sort of solution, I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon.
You just hit on the $1 million question here, which is until, and you said the NCAA, and I don't even know if it will be the NCAA long term that does this, but you have coaches saying that this is the problem. And let's just note, both of these technically, in some ways, like if you're not in the transfer portal, you're not supposed to be talking to other teams. So both of them, in some way, or at least, are violations. But even the first version, even the version that everyone largely decries and says it shouldn't happen, we know it's happening, right, Jacob? Like there are 100% times where teams are the ones, coaches are the ones who are reaching out first and kind of initiating the process, trying to help the player understand that, hey, we think you're going to be a great fit here. You can make more money, whatever it is, better scholarship, whatever it is. But even with those right now, we're not seeing any kind of fear of being caught is I guess the best way I'd put it. Is there any fear that, your school, your program's going to get hit with sanctions if you are caught, quote, tampering? And again, not the second part that you defined, but even the first way where they literally are being proactive and initiating the conversation.
We have seldom seen consequences for bad actors throughout the college baseball, or really, actually, we can broaden this out. This is a college athletics discussion. There are no consequences for bad actors in the tampering space. You can, for the most part, get away with getting ahead of the process, reaching out to a kid or a family member or an agent, and initiating that player's transfer portal process. It happens all the time. It's not going anywhere so long as it's not punished, and that is a fact. That being said, though, I think it's important to recognize that there are a lot of mid-major coaches. Reggie Christensen from Sacramento State, who spoke with us for this story, is a great example. They understand what these high major coaches are going through, and some of them, Coach Christensen included, have said that they would do the exact same thing. We know that this is an unavoidable aspect of the game until some governing body, be it the NCAA or whatever comes down the line, if or when that dissolves, steps in and says, this is definitively illegal, and we are going to have consequences if we catch you doing it. There is really no other way to prevent it. Coach Christensen said that when Wahiva Aloy was having a breakout freshman season in 2023, and granted, he went on to win the Golden Spikes, he knew that coaches from the SEC and ACC were contacting his camp and having conversations about, it's time to get this guy in the portal and bring him over to our roster. And he ends up going and playing for Arkansas. So we saw that that was the byproduct. And even Coach Christensen himself has said, we aren't going to be able to do anything about that. And I would do the exact same thing if the roles were reversed.
So with this, right, as you said, there aren't really consequences right now. Is there even like, because again, this is kind of part of the game now. And it's kind of a, again, there are some benefits of it. Like if you are on a partial scholarship somewhere, you can absolutely get a full ride. If you are not making money as a player, you can make money as a player. There's, you mentioned Aloy, which Sacramento State kind of was proud of the fact that they produced a first round pick / Golden Spikes winner, even if he went somewhere else first before he won those awards. Hey, Air Force should be very proud of Paul Skeens, even if Paul Skeens finished his career at LSU. Is this kind of just going to stay as it is, or are there kind of any talks of any kind of changes to try to fix this?
There are no talks of that. I mean, I think that there are a lot of talks about the problems that exist, but no real answers for solutions. Some coaches want to see contracts, and they've brought that up in conversations with us at Baseball America. They want players to be locked in for 2 years, and then maybe they become free agents who can transfer. Other coaches have just admitted that there's really no end in sight to this problem. So the answer in short is no. There are no conversations about fixing this right now. But the reality is, until there are sweeping changes with the governance of college sports at large, we're not going to see problems to this issue, and it's going to continue to persist pretty much as is.
There you go. It's a free-for-all. It's Wild West tampering time up until we get changes at some point. Maybe. Yeah, I like the contract idea. I'm sure that's a whole nother hour discussion. We can do it at some point, especially in the off season. If you're into the topic, then write to us, get to us on Baseball America's social media channels.